big warm welcome again to Insenzu and another education marketing video. And in today's video, I am welcoming Richard Manville from FundEd, who support not only schools but suppliers in helping to get the funds to pay for really valuable products and services to help in the education sector. So, welcome, Richard. Thank you for joining me today. How are you?
I'm very well, Lara. How are you?
Very good. We've had a little conversation this morning already, haven't we? It's kind of hay fever season, so
yes,
we're gonna get through as best we can today.
We all might cough and splutter a little bit, but we'll get there, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, let's crack straight on with talking to our suppliers today. Firstly, about what FundEd does actually to support schools.
Sure. Well, I run a social enterprise called Community Inspired, and we've been helping schools in some way or other with income generation and fundraising for about 12 years. We also run the PTA Plus service, which works with about 15,000 parent-teacher associations that we help raise about 150 million a year. FundEd was set up about 5 years ago to work more with the school leadership teams and in particularly school business managers who contacted us because they'd obviously seen the work we'd been doing with PTAs and they were struggling to raise the funds they needed. Yeah. Often it was around simple things that they just didn't really know how to get started. So we developed the idea of FundEd around providing some simple tools and support that schools could tap into to help them on their fundraising journey. And that's how we've developed FundEd. And we've developed a number of tools now to go along with the general advice. So we have a fantastic grants database that's recognised as the leading one in the sector that's got about £14 million worth of grants in it. And we also now have introduced funding reviews for schools where they'll give us information about their school and what they're looking to raise funds for. Yeah. And we'll put together a strategy that can help get them started. Because often with a school, they sort of know what they want to do, but they just can't get started on that fundraising journey. So we provide them some hints and tips, maybe a grant that they can apply for that will help them get started.
And of course,
also, sorry.
I was just going to say, of course, schools are very busy places. So having that support when they don't have the time to find out how to go about doing that is absolutely invaluable, isn't it?
Yes, and also often with a business manager, a lot of things within a school often fall down on the business manager's lap. And fundraising, they're very keen to fundraising, but they aren't always naturally the type of personalities that lends itself to fundraising. They're not quite as confident going out talking to a local sponsor, for example, or working with the families of their school with a fundraising campaign. So it's about finding a strategy that's going to fit in with their time frame and their skills and their resources. That's
right.
In terms of being effective.
So I know today we're talking really to our suppliers today to really, help them with their education marketing and their route to market. So can you move on and talk to us a little bit about what you do to help suppliers and how by coming to FundEd, they can really get a route to market and real support that's going to, in effect, help them sell more to schools and to affect their bottom line?
Yeah, well, I suppose part of the reason we're looking to help schools with income generation is to help them spend more money. And obviously, most of the time, that's spending money to help enrich the education of the children within the school.
Absolutely.
And obviously, they'll be spending that money with suppliers. So the suppliers are very important to us. And the quality of the products that suppliers have are also important, but also the testimonials that suppliers provide us that we can then pass on to schools and help inspire schools about what they can fundraise for. So there are two types of suppliers, I guess. There are the suppliers we help with who sell products that are those enriching products, so STEM, playground, library, music, for example. And there are suppliers who perhaps provide schools with those products are more, I wouldn't say humdrum, that isn't meant to sound rude, but air conditioning, roofing, those types of things that you wouldn't necessarily run a fundraising.
The essential background running of the school.
Yeah. But obviously they're still really important. And if schools therefore can raise funds to buy some of those enriched products, hopefully it can free up some funds that they can spend on those other products and services. So it does help everyone within the sector. The more money that's in the sector, it sort of helps everybody.
Yeah,
so part of what we do is work with suppliers get them in front of schools, but also we want to work with suppliers to show them how they can add value to the conversations they have with the schools they already deal with. So
And of course,
obviously, if they're a supplier that provides playground equipment, for example, or whiteboards, for example, and they're talking to schools that are interested in working with them, but perhaps are struggling to raise the funds to buy their products, we can help that supplier provide that school with the support they need in order to raise those funds. Okay.
Absolutely. And often, so many times, suppliers will come to me and say, you know, they're getting an opportunity even to get in front of schools, but the obstacle that they're facing time and time again is that schools are saying, this is a great product, it is a great service, we really want this, but school budgets are tight. I don't know where I'm going to get the funds for this. So, you know, I suppose you're having those conversations and showing them actually there is a way to not only overcome those obstacles, but to actually go in and have those conversations before the schools are saying, you know, this is a real obstacle for me. You're giving them a solution before they're even coming to you with this problem of the budget.
Yeah, I believe every school can fundraise. And we always work across a mix of strategies. So, for example, if you're an inner city London school, you will have different strategies to fundraise than if you're a leafy school in the Surrey Hills.
Yes.
So the inner city school is much more likely to be successful with a grant application, whereas the school in Surrey might find that more difficult, but they're much more likely to be successful with a crowdfunding campaign or running some big family event fundraising. So it's finding a strategy that's tailored to the school's particular situation.
Absolutely. I'm just thinking of my children's own school. We had the summer fair the other day, and you know, the PTA raised over £4,000, you know, at that one event. You know, so those ideas and the support to be able to run these events. Can you talk to me about, maybe give us an example of how you've brought some real value to a supplier, to a business, you know, when they've come to you?
Yes, I guess there's a couple of examples I can think of straight away. There was a school that was looking to buy some whiteboards. I think they were Clever Touch whiteboards, and they'd applied for a grant and they'd been turned down. I think it was a lottery grant, probably because of the geographics of where they were based, etc.
Yeah.
And they were working with us at FundEd and asking for some support. And I suggested that they run a crowdfunding campaign. So they put together a really good campaign with a really nice promotional video, and they were looking to raise £3,000 for this whiteboard. And within 15 days, they'd raised over 12,000, including gift aid. So they were ecstatic. So I contacted the people at Clever Touch because we wanted to run a feature online and in our magazine about this particular story. And of course, they thought it was fantastic. So they took that case study, put it into their internal newsletters. So they then put that out to their regional sales offices so that people selling to schools then had some information about how a school could run a crowdfunding campaign to raise funds for that particular product and give them
absolutely. So that's going to, you know, just help grow even further, and using that for, you know, across social media, I would imagine.
Yeah, so that supplier that goes into a school who's interested and says, we haven't got any money, as well as saying, well, actually, I can introduce you to some people who can help you raise the funds. Here's an example of a school who did exactly that to buy our products. Another example was we're working with a playground marking company, and they'd had some really good testimonials. But what they'd done quite cleverly is they hired a drone to go up and take photographs of the finished playgrounds. And they looked beautiful. Yeah. I remember that we had a couple of testimonials, one in Cambridgeshire and I think somewhere else, maybe Bedfordshire, can't remember exactly. So what we did with those testimonials was we took them and put them on our social media, but we also put them on, as part of our PTA Plus service, we have over 70 Facebook groups broken down by county. And so that means if you've got something like a playground marking that's in Cambridge, you can put that testimonial and that picture on your Cambridge Facebook group. And I think out of that, they had about 4 or 5 inquiries, and the number of schools who were local were able to go and have a look at that, at those markings. So it's a really nice way to connect something, and of course, immediately to a location that can help.
Yeah, of course. And tell the to suppliers a lot when I'm offering training that a testimonial that is local to another school's area is just so powerful, isn't it? If
Yes.
if a head teacher, a school business leader is reading a testimonial or a review from a school down the road, they're often going to know the schools in their location. They say, "Oh, have you seen what these have got down the road?" And that's often good enough for them. As it were.
I think that links back through our funded service. We work individually with schools, but we also work with a lot of groups, like things like Exeter Consortium or MATS or lots of the business management groups. So again, likewise, when we're working with schools, we've done some funding reviews and they've raised money for a product, and we've got some examples of some really good fundraising activity that's worked, and they've bought this particular product. We can then put that back out to the other group, to the other schools in that group. So again, they're in a local area and they know that, Primary in Solihull bought this great climbing wall, for example. Other schools in that area then will be interested and they can chat to them and find out. So it's a really nice way, as you say, to market in a location and spread the word.
Yeah, absolutely. And Richard, who do you find yourself talking to most in school? I know with the PTA Plus, is it PTAs you're speaking with, the leadership team, the senior leadership team?
Yes, well, with FundEd, it's obviously mostly business managers. Saying that, we've just started working with the Association of Primary Heads for Essex.
Oh, yes.
Where we've been retained to particularly help their 63 small rural schools and small schools who obviously have more difficulty fundraising because of their size, but also because the head teacher undertakes the responsibility fundraising because they don't have a full-time business manager or bursar. So in that situation,
and of course that's the case with smaller schools.
And then part of the support we give to those individuals is helping them understand how to go out and perhaps find a volunteer from their broader school community who can assist, maybe just a couple of hours a week, which can make a real difference to a school if you can just be that person who can liaise with a fundraising campaign. On the business management side, which I guess is the majority of the schools we work with, we're working with bursars or business managers. The big problem they all have is time, and I'm sure a lot of your suppliers will get frustrated because they work with a business manager, they send information off and they hear nothing back. And it's often not because the school isn't interested, it's just they haven't got the time to move forward.
That's right.
So again, often with us, it's all about trying to find those little techniques that can help fit into the time that they have, or get them to understand how they can use other people within the school environment to support them.
And that can certainly help our suppliers to speed up the process, by working with you and becoming a FundEd partner. So can you talk to us a little bit about the FundEd partnership scheme that you've got running and how using the FundEd partner logo on their education marketing, for example, displaying it on the National Register of Education Suppliers at Incenso, how is that going to help them to go out to schools and say, we can offer something different, we can give you much greater value and benefit?
Yeah, I think it offers a number of different things to suppliers. It provides them with some additional value that they can add to the clients that they already work with, because they know all schools are looking for funds. It's an additional resource that they can add into the information that they provide to the school. As a funded partner, we will give a supplier co-branded information, so we'll co-brand our detailed fundraising guide, which is a fantastic guide for schools, so that can be sent out with their branding. If they want it as a Word document, so they can incorporate it more into their style of whatever they send out, or put it into their website, that's fine. We haven't got an issue with that.
Oh, that's useful, isn't it?
And we also provide them with funding review templates that they can send out to schools. So when they have a school that's specifically looking for a product or their product, they can send through a template that they will explain to the school that if you fill this template in and send it back to FundEd, they will research their grants database for you. They will put together a strategy that should work for you. So that's obviously really useful for companies that have a particular product they're selling that needs fundraising for, but also more generally, if you're a catering company or providing finance systems, I was approached last week actually by an accounting company in Sussex that looks after 3 MATs, and they have about 20 schools that they run the accounting for. They'd seen what we were doing and they want to provide the funded content to those schools as a funded partner. So they will then have the funded partner logo that they can use on their website and their information and their support. And what it tells the schools is that that's a company that's supporting funding in education. All right.
Absolutely, and that's vital for schools when they're looking and they're searching and they're,
Yeah.
you know, they're on the register, they're comparing different suppliers, and to see that, you
Yeah.
know, is going to be very useful for them. They know, let's go here because
Yeah.
we've got the support with the fundraising for this.
And also, if you are a supplier and you're selling a product into schools, and quite a few of those schools are talking to you about fundraising advice, I know that quite a few suppliers will have fundraising advice on their website, but that's a one size fits all, and schools aren't one size fits all. And
No.
and the fundraising advice to that inner city London school will be completely different to the advice you'll give that leafy school in rural Surrey. So you do need to tailor that that advice. I remember talking to a school about 3 weeks ago in East London, and they were looking to do something to their playground, and they were struggling because obviously they had the demographic meant that they couldn't go out to the parents, they couldn't ask them to pay for things or raise funds through crowdfunding or raffles, and I suggested that they track down old pupils, and they use social media to find people who've been to that school in the past, perhaps linked to the local secondary, which is more likely to have an alumni network. Because people who went to that school in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s were probably really proud of that start they had from that small London school, and they like wear it like a badge almost.
Yeah.
And if they knew that you were looking for help, they now may be running companies, they may be senior in businesses, and they may well be a good source of support. And I think that they've started that process, and they're starting to get some really good feedback. And also they had a huge corporation building a new office block right next to their playground. And in fact, it had taken some of the playground away for safety reasons. They had to box it off. And I said, well, have you spoken to their CSR department? And they hadn't. So they have done, and they got some sponsorship or a donation from that organization, because they're obviously next to them, they're causing pollution, they're causing disruption and noise. So it's really just trying to find what will fit with that particular school. And sometimes it's just thinking out the box. And
that's right. And because you've got that experience, and you know, you can bring that to a school very quickly, those ideas that they can then implement very quickly. And that's going to be most beneficial to the school and the pupils and the wider community, and obviously to the suppliers. So if a supplier is watching this today and thinks, okay, this sounds great, they're the type of supplier that we really think can benefit from this route to market, what should they do next? If I bring up your contact details, so we can have a look at that.
Yep, there we are.
So your contact details, obviously it's the community inspired. You talked to us a bit earlier in the video about that. So it's richard.manville@communityinspired.co.uk. We can see there the FundEd logo, but also the funded partner logo. So it would be this logo, wouldn't it, Richard, that they can display on all their education marketing there.
Yeah. And also we will be putting out, because we work with thousands of schools independently, obviously, who take out membership. I mean, just to clarify, the work that we do for schools through the supply is free to the schools. So that's a free service the schools receive. We're launching a campaign with a big charity called Donate to Educate, which works with local businesses. So in effect, all of our funded partners will be part of that Donate to Educate scheme, because they're providing a free service to the schools themselves. So contact us, contact me, and then obviously I can talk through how you can get involved, give you a little bit more information. And it's really, as I say, open to any type of supply. You don't have to supply a product that they raise funds for. It might be, as with the accounting company, you just want to add value for the schools that you work with.
That's right.
But we work, sorry, the bit I meant to say was we work with obviously thousands of schools who are coming to us for funding reviews and information, access to our grants database, looking for advice. Often those schools haven't selected suppliers, so we're also helping schools sort of by providing information about the suppliers that we have, that we work with through our scheme. So if you are a funded partner, you'll also be promoted out to additional schools as well.
That's such good advice, and, you know, obviously highly recommended. So, Richard, it's been a pleasure talking to you today, and I am sure that many of our suppliers will find that extremely useful. So thank you for joining me today. And thanks to everybody for joining us on today's video. Do look out for further Insenzu education marketing videos to help you to sell more to schools. If you've yet to add your business to the National Register of Education Suppliers, then head over to insenzu.co.uk today and add your profile completely free of charge. If you need help selling more to schools, then you can always give us a ring on 0800 633 5722 or drop us a line at office@insenzu.co.uk.